Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Gary. Hope you've all had a good week, and I hope you have all had a good weekend. Let me move this camera around. Sorry everybody. How is everybody? Yep, hope you've had a good weekend. I mean, it's been a mixed one, hasn't it, from a football perspective. Well, not mixed, it just hasn't been great. The Lionesses obviously losing their opening game of the Euros, and I hate to say I predicted it, even though I probably didn't on my prediction video. Actually, I went for a 2-2, didn't I? But it didn't surprise me really. The loss, sorry, did not surprise me at all. So, look, we need something from them now, and the pressure's on because ultimately we could be out, you know, before the tournament's barely even started. Straight into the chat. Match channel. Good evening, mate. Good evening, chat. Charlie. Good evening. Both Charlie Robinson and Charlie Kelly. It was a little bit worrying. Dominic, good evening. So obviously, I mean, I am going to talk about the Lionesses tonight, and I'm also going to talk about the latest transfer news because there's a lot happening. There's an awful lot happening that is exciting, and we need to talk about. We need to talk about it because not only are some interesting transfers occurring, but then I think there's also a need for us to talk about who else needs to move from an England perspective, and that's where I'm completely looking at it. Forget club loyalties, leave them at the start of the chat, everybody. We are looking at a player is the best thing for them to move club. Forget, you know, in terms of their England career. Tuchel was there last night, that's why they lost. People have said, well, I tell you what, look, let's get straight into it. I mean, I'll be honest with you, England started all right. And I think you could see the quality there. It was a very attacking lineup, but we just seemed to fade as the game went on. I've got to admit, though, that offside decision, and I ain't one to keep going on about things like this, because VAR is VAR, and it's offside, but even the pictures, has anybody looked at the pictures? I've looked at them about 10 times. I still can't tell if it's on or off, genuinely. It's one of the craziest, tightest decisions I've ever known, and when you think about it, you think, how good is this technology? Over 40, 50 yards from one side of the pitch to the other, how good is that technology when you talk about millimetres? And this goes back to the whole point why VAR was originally brought in, or should have been brought in, or we were told it was brought in for, was to resolve clear and obvious areas. That wasn't a clear and obvious error. England had a goal disallowed. There was a contentious second one from France as well, where you would argue there's probably a foul in the build-up to that as well. And then a red card. So decisions didn't go our way, is what I'm trying to get at. They didn't go our way. But at the same time, England didn't help ourselves neither. We didn't help ourselves. We didn't do enough. We didn't, particularly in that second half, or well, in fact in both halves really, after the first 20 minutes. And we were poor. But it isn't a surprise. Look, anybody who's watching this who might be thinking England fans were coming into this thinking that the Lionesses were the team to beat, we know we're not the team to beat. We've dropped down the FIFA rankings. We know we haven't been in a good run of form. And we could be out. The next game's against the Netherlands, and we could be out very early. We would be the first ever reigning champions in the Euros to go out at the group stage. So we want to avoid it. I mean, look, it's one game. We could be out. We could also go on and win and still go on and have a really good run in this tournament. So not all is lost, but it is always sudden do or die time for the Lionesses, isn't it? It really is. It was poor. It was poor. Foundation, good evening. I mean, we were just talking about that. I'm not 100% sure it was offside, but it was given and we had to deal with it. And you would argue ever since England scored and the goal was disallowed, we just completely were second best to France in that first half, despite us starting the much better. The decisions did go against us. They 100% did, but that's football, isn't it? And ultimately, did we have enough quality over the 90 minutes to win the game? You know, this is ultimately we want to be winning it, not drawing it. But I mean, a draw would have been better than a defeat. Let's be honest. So it was poor, but not wholly surprising. It really, really wasn't. And Serena's got a lot of questions now. Serena's got a lot of questions to ask and answer, and it's tough. It could be a really, really tough summer for the Lionesses, and this is something I was predicting months ago, and I know some of you guys were as well. but going back to my original prediction video that I did before this Women's Euros a couple of months back, I was even in that on winning if England were going to make it out of this group. So I wouldn't be surprised if we go out in the group stage, considering how we're playing and just the way it seems to be going at the minute. Charlie Kelly, I told you the under-21s would win the tournament, and that told me you didn't think they could. No, you're. I mean, I didn't think. It's not because of quality. I just thought to do back-to-back under-21 tournaments is just unreal, absolutely unreal. So hats off to them. I didn't, just solely because of that reason. I didn't think they'd do it. I always thought they'd have a better chance than the women. But yeah, fair play to the lads. It was brilliant, wasn't it? At least we got one trophy back. We did foundation. I think we did lose that sort. We lost it really. Our head sort of went, but that's poor, isn't it? You know, this is it was a very experienced England team that are out there, and decisions go against you in games. And I don't know. And at the back, we just look poor, and we've looked poor for a long time at the back. You know, the defensive frailties are, you could argue, were there in the women's and the men's game, and it just didn't surprise me at all, really. Transfer talks, though. I do want to talk about transfer talks tonight because I'm just trying to figure out. Everyone else can see these icons next to the. I need to have a look at my YouTube of what these icons mean, because I can see like crowns with 3 on it, crowns with 1 on it. People with, I know what the stars obviously mean. Yeah, I need to have a look at that. Right, transfer news though. So obviously Kyle Walker has gone to Burnley. Now, obviously Kyle Walker was in the last squad. People were bemused by that, despite Kyle Walker obviously being a fantastic servant for England and still a good player. Does the move to Burnley though, is that it? Is that it for Kyle Walker? Does he now go, well, does he now not go to the World Cup because of that move? Thoughts in the chat, please. An interesting one that I only caught yesterday. I don't know when it was actually going around. I don't know when it was going around in the press or whatever, but I picked up on it yesterday, and that is Madueke to Arsenal, which, I'll be honest with you, has really surprised me because, as far as I was concerned, he was playing, well, not ultimately regular, but he was still a useful member for Chelsea in that squad. And I know they're making signings with Gittens, and we'll come on to in a second, but Madueke to Arsenal is just, it sounds like they've agreed personal terms before they've discussed any sort of transfer fee or anything. So it seems like if they can sort that out, then Madueke will be going to Arsenal. And I'm looking at this thinking, right, Saka on one side and Madueke on the other at club level. How can that not benefit England? So I'm all for that. I am all for that. If it also means he's going to get more games. And I think that will, given the signings Chelsea have made, I think it'll be the right move for Madueke, wouldn't it? Charlie, the crowns are for top fan in the live stream of contributions, etc. I did think it was something to do with that. I've just never seen him before. Isn't Kyle Walker 1 cup shy of 100? Great shift, but time to move on. I don't actually know what he's on, actually. I know he's in the 90s. I thought he had a. I didn't think he was on 99 though. I thought he was on like 93 or something. But he may well be. Stephen Winston, hi all. Walker was great for us, but he's past it now. We have better right backs now. Time to move. And to be honest with you, I think fans ultimately have agreed with that, or thought that was the case actually. But it seems like he's still getting picked for squads, and as we all know, or we don't like to think that this happens, but it clearly does. There are big club biases when England players are picked for these England squads. Does him moving to Burnley, regardless of his form now, almost just that's it? He's done. He's done for England. I think it pretty much does, Stephen. I can't believe Stavio scored against us the other day, but I'm glad he didn't. He's going to be a player of the season next season. I got a feeling Chelsea will have a very good season. Oh, he's on 96. Okay. Yes, I mean, maybe he's probably not going to reach 100 caps then, is he? He's probably not going to. And arguably he shouldn't with the right backs we've got, unless we're injury hit, which we were, to be fair, in the last squad and the Club World Cup. So you can see why he was bought in a little bit, to be honest with you. And he still does give that experience. So maybe the 100 caps. Well, no, it probably is, isn't it? Because that's the 100 caps now. 4 more caps for him is at least 2 more international break windows, and I just can't see it happening. But who knows? Obviously, while we're on that, Jamie Gittens going to Chelsea. And I think obviously this is going to play a big part in Madueke moving to Arsenal. But Gittens, as we know, or well, maybe we don't know as much as obviously we would like to, given the fact he's been playing in Germany at Borussia Dortmund. But from what I've seen of him in the Champions League, he's been a good player, positive player. And I think Jamie Gittens moving over to Chelsea, as long as they use him, I think that's the key. As long as they use him, what have they paid? 56, 60 million pounds? I mean, I don't know if that's a lot of money in this day and age now, or a lot, or I don't know. I mean, the transfer fees are just mental now. But yeah, Jamie Gittens and Madueke, you know, hopefully getting moves and playing a little bit more regular. I mean, I'm all for it. Another one that I picked up on that all seemed to be a bit quiet, particularly given the under-21 Euros as well, is Kwanzaa, who had a fantastic Euros campaign for England, has moved to Bayer Leverkusen. And I think this is a great move. I think this is an absolute great move. And hopefully, and it shouldn't do, you know, Bayer Leverkusen are a top team. Hopefully this is this is ultimately a positive thing for England. And hopefully he'll start some games and regularly. He's a good lad. He's a big lad. He's had, like I said, he's had a good summer. And yeah, that sort of caught me by surprise, that did. I wasn't expecting that. I hadn't had any rumours and it just seemed to come through. So yeah, Kwanzaa to Bayer Leverkusen. And ultimately England players moving abroad, particularly those that aren't getting regular game time, you know, they've got to do it. They've got to do it more. Crystal Racing, hi mate. Charlie Kelly, Adam Morton must be selected at the next camp. France deserved it. They did, mate. They did. Very good signing for us. Gittens will be important, and considering Tuchel favours Chelsea players, hopefully he has a good season. He'll be at the World Cup next year. I mean, he's got to play. He has got to play. I think he's got to play. What's been deleted, Crystal? Now, this also brings me on to, and we'll come back onto the Lionesses and we'll have a bit of a chat about that if people still want to this evening. But I also want to talk about some players. I was sat here just before coming live and I thought I'll make a bit of a list. And that's why I'm glancing to my right here, because I thought I'll make a bit of a list. Felt like me move this over so I'm not straining myself. I thought I'd make a bit of a list in terms of who else should move, or could possibly move, but should move for their England career and for their career in general, to be honest with you. Harvey Elliott. Has got to move. He's got to leave Chelsea for me. It's all gone a bit quiet since the 21s. I don't know who he's linked with. I don't even know if he's going to stay. I think he's going to move. Rashford, obviously, is another one, and I know that's been in the press this week, along with a number of other Man United players who've put their name on a list who want to go. Solomon, absolutely right. Grealish as well. Foden. You know, we don't want to end up with a Sterling or somewhere's career just, you know, goes out in a fart. Chris Luncombe, I did Diego Jota tribute on YouTube. Really? Yes, rest in peace, obviously, Diego Jota. I don't know what happened there for you, mate. Yeah, I know he's at Liverpool, Charlie. I don't know if you're talking to me there. Did I say Chelsea? I know he's at Liverpool. He needs to move, though. He needs to move. Harvey Elliott needs to leave Liverpool. 100%. Harwood Bellis to Porto. Southampton rejected 20 round. But I did read that as well, and I missed that off my list. But I think that would be a great move as well. More English players playing abroad, and he's one of those, going back to when we was discussing on the live stream the other day about under 21 players and how many of these from this tournament are going to make it through into the senior level. Harwood Bellis is one who's had a phenomenal, like unbelievable under 21 career, arguably one of the best ever under 21 England players from a success perspective and caps and all that sort of stuff. But he's at the risk of all of a sudden he's, you know, teetering on towards his mid-20s and nothing's going to have happened. He's not come through to the senior squad. I think he's got to move. He's got to move, and I think it would be a great move for him. Ramsdale, yeah, possibly, yeah, I would agree with that. Does need a move, absolutely. So there's some good moves happening, and I think, to be honest with you, I think a lot of these players will probably move. I think Elliott will move. I think Rashford will move. I think Grealish will move. I think Harwood Bellis, something will happen there. I think a lot of these players will end up moving. By the way, Gary, I'm going to England versus Wales at Wembley in October. Oh, marvellous, mate. Absolutely brilliant. Enjoy it? Well, I'll be honest with you. Watching England at the minute, I can't remember when I've gone to see England at an home game recently and got any sort of enjoyment out of it. And I mean that as a diehard England fan. But, Charlie, let's hope we find, put some sort of performances in, because the way we're playing at the minute, Wales, Jesus, they could turn us over. Yes, Mark Gahey to Liverpool as well. I think Mark Gahey will move as well. So I think all these players. I mean, the thing is about possibly Gahey, Harwood-Bellis. They don't probably need a move, do they? Well, you could argue they do, but I wouldn't say they absolutely necessarily need a move. But I think it would benefit the career. What about Eze as well? He's a player who keeps getting mentioned, and I think that may influence some other moves depending on where Eze goes. Would love him to join us, but as an England fan, I'm worried he may not get game time. Yeah, what we don't want is players moving and not getting game time. We don't want that, and this is why I always get a little bit funny about England players going to one of the... I know there isn't a traditional top 4 anymore, or top 5, or top 6, whatever you want to call it, but there is, from a financial perspective, is what I'm saying, and a squad perspective, and all this nonsense. But when you hear of an England player going to, your Chelseas, your Man U's, your Arsenals, your Cities, whatever, you do always think, are they going to play? It's a great move, but it's not if they don't play. We've got 11 months now until the next World Cup for Tuchel to get this team roaring and to peak at the right time. Absolutely. I mean, Delap. I'm hoping Delap. The move for Delap this summer is going to be key, and I'm hoping he gets a bag full of goals. He's the one England player move this year that I'm already most excited about. I'd love to see Madueke at Arsenal, because I think playing alongside Saka, I think that one's really fired me up a little bit, to be honest with you. I'd love to see that happen. I'd like to see Grealish move as well, 100%, because I feel like he could find his career really strong. I mean, a Newcastle or Everton, somewhere like that, even at Villa again. He needs to go one of those sorts of clubs, doesn't he? Yeah, I think Harwood-Bellis does need a move. You're right, Match Channel. Solomon, 1 year since the quarter-final penalty shootout with the most confident 5 English takers I've ever seen. That penalty shootout, does anyone else almost forget it? Because it was that easy. And I mean that in a really, weird way. It was like a penalty shootout for England. We're just like, yeah. And I remember watching that penalty shootout at that time. I thought, there's no way we're going out here. And it was in hindsight, looking back, it was bizarre. And there were 5 absolutely perfect penalties. And it was dead weird watching that game. At no point did I feel like England weren't going to get through that match. He has Match Channel, but ultimately he's going to be judged on the season, and the Club World Cup's forgotten already. It's still on, and people have forgot it. So I know, Solomon, it was dead weird, wasn't it? It was really weird. I wouldn't be surprised if the girls get through the group just then, and then they turn it on the knockouts just like the Under-21s did. Look, it's a big ask, and the Netherlands ain't going to roll over, and I don't know. I am bloody worried. I am really, really worried that we're out. I really am. Maybe it was because it was our 3rd penalty shootout win under Southgate. Yeah, it just never... I remember watching it at the time, and I was nervous, but it never felt like watching England in a really key moment in past tournaments before. It just always, I don't know, just something always felt calming and chilled out. And I remember where I was watching it at the time, and the people I was watching it, and they weren't like that same sort of utter disbelief and euphoria when we won. It was just a bit like, yeah, we've won, we've got through, and dessert. And it's just shows you how far we've come along under Southgate, or did come along under Southgate, doesn't it? It's just, honestly, the man has just been so taken for granted. It is unbelievable. And I'm just worried that this next 12 months is just going to be an experiment that bores us up, another World Cup done and dusted, and then hopefully we can get back onto doing the right process and believing in this philosophy about bringing under-21 coaches through and sticking to young, unknown managers rather than going out and getting some foreign all-star manager and all that sort of nonsense. But when you look back at that, you just felt that was the sign of how far we'd come under Gareth Southgate. I mean, I do, Carol. I do, honestly, because yeah, I don't know. It was just, I mean, there was always the moaning, wasn't there? And I think ultimately people wanted to change because they were bored. And I think that's it. Honestly, even now, the fans that were really adamant that they wanted him out, I think it was just boredom. I just think people get bored of having the same manager. But I tell you what, I think we'd all have him back tomorrow, wouldn't we? We'd all have him back tomorrow. I'm going to say there's not a fan alive that would moan. Of course there is. There's plenty of Southgate, anti-Southgate haters out there and all that lot. But I tell you what, I'd be ecstatic if, for whatever reason, Tuchel signed for a club and we got Southgate. I'd be a bit like, oh, okay, no, that was a waste of time. But at the same time, I'd be like, smash him. And Lee Carsley, to be honest with you, I'll be completely confident going in Lee Carsley as manager as well. At the minute, more confident than Thomas Tuchel. But I ain't writing him off yet. He is our manager. I'm going to back him. He's just not had the best start, has he? Solomon, perhaps, but we did play honking football that tourney. It was comically bad how we scraped through. I know. But the thing is, right, the reason why that doesn't stress me out too much or worry me too much is because everyone else was shit as well. Like proper shit. It was one of the worst tournaments ever. It's certainly one of the worst Euros. It was so crap. It was a terrible tournament. Spain deserved the trophy. They were the only team who turned up. I don't hate Southgate, but he wasn't the man to take us over the line. Too slow to react. Yeah, I'd agree with that. But ultimately, you need a manager to be able to get us to the line. At the minute, Tuchel doesn't look like he's even going to go there, does he? And that's the problem. It's all right, everyone's saying, if we're in the final and, we equalise against Spain, Thomas Tuchel know how to push on. No good if he can't get us in that final, though, is it? Netherlands will be easier than France. Before the tournament, they got battered 4-0 by Germany. Match Channel, I hope you're right, mate. I'm not as optimistic as you are, put it that way. I was at the Denmark game. It was toxic after the game. I mean, ultimately, the last Euros is such a bizarre... It was such a bizarre tournament. Before Jude Bellingham's overhead kick, and obviously in the first knockout round, it'd have been up there with one of the biggest disappointments in England's history, wouldn't it? And what a flat and shit way it'd have been for Southgate to bow out. And football's and sport really is a game of fine margins. But we got through and we got to the final and all that, and it ended up being a bittersweet moment. But ultimately, things I don't know. It was just. It still happened, didn't it? We still got through. We still got to the final. But it could have been, you're absolutely right, completely different. It really could have been completely different, Stephen. I mean, I remember there was quite a lot of toxicity around Southgate leading up to that tournament anyway, wasn't there? Quite some time before, if we're being honest. The Denmark, yeah, it was crap. I mean, to be honest with you, under Gareth Southgate, we seemed to have them all the time, didn't we? The USA game at the World Cup, I think about, the Denmark game, the Scotland game as well. We sort of have these games at tournaments. Were they all the second game or third? I don't know, but that was a common thing with Gareth Southgate. Start the tournament really, really well, and then all of a sudden we'd just have a really shit few games. There'll never be another tournament which has had you on the edge of the sport. Every game when the 90th minute in the balance. Yeah, but the problem is 8 to 9 minutes was just dross, wasn't it? I mean, everyone stunk the place out until the final. Having watched them, Liam from Bayern View says they aren't that good. Who isn't that good? Oh, Denmark. Sorry. This is where... No, sorry, not Denmark. The Netherlands. I understand what you mean now. Well, look, Match Channel, I hope you're right, mate, because it'll be shit. It'll be proper shit if we go out in the group stage. I think if I, as an England fan now, I'd be happy if we got through to the next round. Your honest opinion, do you think Tuchel has the quality to take England over the line if you look at him as a coach and not the previous performances? I mean, I can't sit here and say a Champions League winning manager hasn't got the quality to get this England squad over the line. Obviously, I can't sit here and say that at all, because of course he has. I think the problem Tuchel's found is he's trying to overcomplicate international football when I don't think he needs to simplify what he wants to do and find a very basic system and stick to it, because I think he's asking for a very specific type of play, or quite a different type of play from what Southgate had tried to introduce and adopt and has sustained. And the problem he's finding is he hasn't got time. He has not got time. And consistency. I mean, his two camps he's had so far have been quite different, and they're going to probably be different again in September. And I think he needs to learn that lesson quickly. He really does need to learn that lesson quickly. And I don't know. I really don't know. No one can sit here and say Tuchel's not a good enough manager to win the World Cup. I don't think that's not a topic open for debate. I think what's open for debate is, can he do it? Can he get this England team to perform well in a short space of time? That's the key, and that is completely different from club football, isn't it? Club World Cup shows next year's group stages will be a bit boring, to be honest. Of course they'll be, but I mean, what is it? Because of the 48 team, literally, you've just got to turn up and you're more or less through the group. And I've said this before. I have said this before last year when I said someone will come back and like capture this and share it with me again. But one win, you win one win, and obviously bearing in mind one team in your group is going to be the absolute dog and duck in a 48 team World Cup. Almost one win is enough to guarantee you through to the next round. So to get grouped to this next World Cup would be an absolute shambles. I can't see it happening. It ain't going to happen. We'll be a top seed. It won't happen. We'll get through the group stages. We'll just go through the motions. But this is the problem. Tuchel's got one game in his own managerial England career against one top team. I mean, you could argue, Senegal destroyed us, didn't they? They absolutely destroyed us. But Tuchel's going to have one game against a top team, and that could be it. That literally could be it. And that's quite a, I don't know, it's quite a disappointing feeling, really. And this is where it goes back to why it's so important England remain in League A of Nations League. I think it's why it's so important that where we can, if we can fit any more friendlies in between now and the next summer, particularly closer towards the end of next season, I think the better. I mean, the weather in the US is, the weather anywhere. I mean, look at it in Europe over these past few months. I mean, it'd have been worse. It literally would have been worse playing it in Europe over these past few weeks, because it's literally been hitting 40-odd degrees in like South France, Spain, Italy, all those places. Even in the UK, it's been hitting like really high, hasn't it? It'd have been worse playing it in Europe. It's just the way it is now. Tuchel said, though, even if he don't win it, he wants to stay on until Euro 2028 or try to win that. It might have done, but I mean, look, if we go there, considering how poor he's done so far, I mean, we've got to get there, yeah. And this is the thing. We've got Serbia away. Serbia away is the group for us in this qualification campaign. I said it before, I said it again, I'm saying it again tonight. Next international break, we've got Andorra at home, Serbia away. We might not be automatically going yet, because I tell you what, he's going to have to get by far, and I mean by far, his best performance out of these lads in September, like by a country mile, because they ain't performed for him yet. And to go to Serbia away from home is a massive ask at the minute for Thomas Tuchel and this England team. Huge ask. Yeah, I mean, I think these drinks breaks are going to be key, Matt. And I mean, ultimately, footballers are just going to have to get used to it. They are going to have to get used to it. I think FIFA can bring in, we've got to remember, yes, it's hot and all this lot, but put in more drinks breaks. These are highly trained international athletes on diets, on exercise programs. They're fully fit and ready. And you would argue probably for 60-70% of the time and during the game, they're not actually running for anything anyway. So, yes, they're hot, but I think there's ways they can mitigate them. And the heat can't be an excuse, because everyone's playing in it. Everybody's playing in it. But it's going to be a tough World Cup. It's going to be a tough World Cup. Of course it is. They always are. I think Tuchel would have to. I mean, no. I'm trying to think of what scenario I would be happy with Thomas Tuchel coming out of this World Cup, and I was going to say like semi-final or quarter-final, but I don't really want just the first team we come up against, a big team, for him to be knocked out again. And it's like, how are we progressing? What's changed? So I think for me, the very bare minimum for Tuchel, if he wants to stay on, is that we knock out a France, a Germany, a Spain, and Italy, if they get there. One of those top teams, Brazil, Argentina, whatever, in a knockout round. Then I would change my mind. Then I'd be like, yeah, give him another crack of the whip. But that's a big bloody if. Yeah, I know. Extreme weather. You can't plan for it, can you? If we go to Serbia away, though, and put in a dominant performance, then everyone will forget about the Senegal. I mean, absolutely, and that they should do, because it was only a friendly at the end of the season. Absolutely. But it's just a big if, because performances so far have been that poor, and he's not looked close to getting he's not looked like getting a performance that's anywhere near capable of going to Serbia and winning. But hopefully, they can turn it on when they can. And often, to be honest with you, this is what they did under Southgate when it really mattered. We more or less turned up. I can't see Madueke getting much playing time at Arsenal unless injuries. I don't know. I mean, surely you can, given the fact he can play on both wings. I think a semi-final with a top-class performance would keep him in the job. Yeah, I think it would. I do think we've got to knock out. I think a semi-final, though, only beating teams you expect England to beat, wouldn't be good enough. I think if we've knocked out a top team in the quarters or the round of 16, absolutely. But I think if we get through to the semi-final on an easy run and lose against the first big team, I think he's going to struggle, because he's going to get exactly the same criticism Southgate had, but probably without the leeway because he's German. Will the Andorra game also be about building momentum for Serbia? I mean, how much momentum can you build against Andorra at home? Let's be real. So yes, it will, because it's the game beforehand, but the plumbers, the shop assistants, the lawyers, or whatever they are, they're not an international team. They're really not. I mean, it should be 4-5-0 England easy. It's not really a preparation for it at all. Well, it isn't in my eyes anyway, and I don't think it would be in a lot of England players' eyes. So, I mean, there's a number of players there. I think Rashford, Elliott, in particular, are two players that 100% need their move this summer. And Grealish. Let's chuck Grealish into that as well. We all know, though, we've got to be careful what we wish for. Moves can literally ruin careers. Some players who have been the best players in the world and move clubs, and they're absolutely, a shadow of the former self. So, and ultimately, we've got to hope that some of these moves that have already happened pay off. Gittens, Delap, Madueke, if it comes off. We need these players to have good games. Regular good games as well. And ultimately, Tuchel needs to be able to start to call on a regular England squad, because he hasn't had that yet. He really hasn't. Good to see Palmer, though, seeing a bit of form. He's a massive player for us. He really is. He could be the key, alongside the players that are already established internationals, such as your Sakas, your Bellinghams, your Kanes. If you can fit in the Palmer that we've all seen over the past couple of years in his top form inside those, that could be the key. It really could be the key to England winning a tournament or not. Is that good? At the end of the day, if we was to win the World Cup and play shit, I wouldn't moan, though. In these tournaments, it's just about results in the knockouts. Well, mate, Charlie, could not agree with you more. Could not agree with you more, mate. Absolutely. I've said it before, I've said it again. I mean, I'll say it now. Argentina were not the best team at the last World Cup. They just weren't. It's flat out fact. The best team at the World Cup doesn't lose to Saudi Arabia in their opening match. Knockout football is knockout football, and tournament football is tournament football. You just have to play the moments, and you have to get, you need a bit of luck. Yes, you need to beat some top teams at the time, but you don't have to consistently be the best team at the tournament. It's just not what happens. It's not a league. You haven't got to keep it up over a number of months. It's a short number of games. You can be lucky as hell to get through and scrape wins and scrape out of groups and all that sort of stuff, and go on and win the tournament. It's as simple as that, and that's ultimately why no team, really. I mean, look, we've all seen, we're all probably, even if you're, younger than 15 years old, we've all probably seen mad stuff in football to never write anything off in football. So 100% England have a chance of winning the next World Cup. A billion% chance of winning it, but because anything can happen. But every team should go out there with some form of optimism. Speaking of Argentina, hopefully England turn out like them in Euro 2025. After this France loss, yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's a big ask. I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with everyone. I'm in a pessimistic mood. I think the Lionesses are getting grouped. I really do. I think they get just something just doesn't feel right, and it hasn't felt right for a while. This Lionesses team just seem a bit all over the place. There was those surprise dropouts before the summer. Just something just hasn't felt right for a long, long time. And I think after a loss against France and sort of a pressure against Netherlands, the writing's all on the wall for a major upset. It's all lined up. The stars have all aligned for it for me. It really has. So I'm bracing myself for an early exit. And I'm happy, well, I'm not happy with that. Obviously, I don't want that to happen. But something just doesn't feel right. It just feels like that's something's going to happen. Or best case scenario, we scrape through the group and we go out first knockout round. Honestly, I just see nothing but a very, very disappointing Euros. Carol, I agree about the Lionesses. I know and I don't want to say it, and I'm sure, Carol, you don't want to say it, and none of us want to say it. It's just, we've got to face up to the fact that the consistency hasn't been there. Something clearly hasn't been right. It's just not right. The players seem a bit disjointed. Serena hasn't you don't know what her best starting lineup is. I mean, that starting 11 just seemed like a really offensive attacking one. It felt like she just ran out of ideas and thought, right, let's just chuck as many good players on the pitch as I possibly can. I just can't see it. Something is not right. The only team I would like to win it, if not us, would be Portugal for Jota. Don't know how likely that is, though. I don't think they'll win it, mate. But you never know. They've obviously got plenty of renewed passion, but they got battered in their opening game, didn't they? Zeld, how are you, mate? Good evening. Welcome. Thank you for joining. I mean, obviously, I've not mentioned Jota yet, so I will do briefly. It's obviously very, very sad. Yeah, it's just awful news. Awful news. And all I would say is, it just reminds us all how fragile life is. So, make sure you enjoy life. Make sure, you spend time with your loved ones and enjoy the people around you, because anything can happen. That's the only lesson I'm taking from this news, this shocking news, is that life is very, very precious and our loved ones are very, very precious. So, yeah. Just my word on that. But yeah, rest in peace to Jota. I'm slightly worried about the Lionesses playing Netherlands on Wednesday. Dominic, you've just heard what I don't know if you did just hear what I said, but I think we're out, mate. I think we're out. No, I meant the World Cup, not the Women's Euros. Oh, right, okay. I'm with you now. Okay, Charlie. Yeah. I mean, they could do. I mean, Jota's a big loss for them. From a player perspective, he's a top player, obviously, isn't he? But I think Portugal have a fantastic team, absolutely fantastic team, and I think they're well within a shout of winning the World Cup. Yeah, Andre Silva, Jota's brother as well. Rest in peace to them both. I mean, his poor mother. Yeah, shocking news. Really, really shocking. Some lesson about driving as well. I just want to mention that because nothing's actually really been said about, obviously, the driving. I know the tyre blew out or something, but I'm always a bit cautious because was he speeding? I hear that they were trying to overtake. Was the overtake unnecessary? And I'm always a bit like, look, I know people who I lost at school who were run over by people driving like idiots. So I just also want to, I'm not saying he was, but I think it's just worth everyone not forgetting that fact that cars are very, very dangerous and you've got to be sensible in them, sensible around them, sensible driving in them. And I am glad also that no one else was injured. I really am, because I don't know. I'm not saying they were speeding, but obviously in a Lamborghini, overtaking, tyre blows out and a car to flip. It doesn't sound like they were going 30 mile an hour, does it? But I don't know. It just frustrates me. 11 months, 5 camps. Come on, Tuchel, time to start performing. Look, I mean, he's had, what is it? He's had 2 camps, hasn't he? So he's still very, very early on, but it's, the next one's more than halfway through. So he's got to find some answers. And this is the one to find answers. It is like we've just been saying, it's a Serbia away game. This is the only, look, we win. We beat Serbia, we're through. It's done. That needs to be the message to the players. That's surely what's going through Tuchel's mind as well. Even more so given the fact that Serbia and Albania drew. So we beat Serbia away from home. We're through to the World Cup in September. It's happening. We're not going to lose any games after. Well, we're not going to lose 2 or 3 games after that. We're through to the World Cup, and that's the carrot. Obviously, a little bit of these performances under Tuchel have been end of season fatigue, or he's really struggled to motivate the players. Let's be honest, and that's what he called them out on. That's what he's called them out on in the press. Sorry, saying, I'm not happy with the way they've responded, blah, blah, blah. And you can tell the players, it's a piss poor attitude from England players, I'll give you that. And it's a bit worrying that these England players feel like they can decide when they perform and when they don't, because it does sort of come across that is sort of the attitude of this group of players, or at least a good proportion of them, because Gareth Southgate has had the same issue in these squads at this time of year as well. So that pisses me off a little bit and worries me a little bit that these players probably are a bit too big for the boots and don't show the national squad enough respect. But all the motivation is there for this campaign, for this qualification campaign in September. This camp, in September, to get us through to the World Cup. Daryl Madueke to Arsenal, I think, is an opportunity for him to learn more. He's a good player, which needs to mature a bit. Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's a good move, and I just keep going back to the fact, if we can get them two, Saka and Madueke, playing regular, both for the same club, on either sides of the pitch as well, because Saka's holding that right side, isn't he? And if Madueke can start to put in the same sort of performance as Saka does and learn from him, because Saka's the better player, let's be honest. Well, all of a sudden you've got the front wide players both playing for the same club, and that's mouth-watering for England. That is absolutely mouth-watering. How much goals do you want against Andorra to be satisfied and confident for Serbia? I mean, the goals don't really matter, but I'd like to see 4 or 5. Not only Madueke and Saka, but they also expected to play with Djurickiewicz. Yeah, I mean, the problem is the left-hand side, as we all know, is the gap for England. The Madueke move is exciting because that's exactly where he'll be playing if he goes to Arsenal, and I feel like he'll play more regular there than what he would have done for Chelsea. I think that's one of the reasons why it's important and quite exciting. Gittens, it's remained to be seen in terms of where he might play. Grealish, you couple Madueke's move to Arsenal, he's going to play some games. You couple that with Grealish potentially moving, going somewhere, and all of a sudden playing his better football again. Palmer coming back into form. All of a sudden, that left-hand side could end up being like absolutely stacked. I know this is all wishful thinking, but I'm weighing up that if all these sort of moves come together and certain players who didn't quite hit the stride towards the end of last season start to again, that left-hand side, all of a sudden, problem solved. Problem solved, everybody. It could be Crystal, but I think Madueke is very much, well, he is far better known, I think, particularly to Thomas Tuchel and the senior England squad and the youth squad as well, because Madueke was heavily used at under 21, so he's much more used to the England camp. So, I mean, obviously it could happen. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. I mean, end of the day, every player's got 12 months now to perform and get themselves on that plane, but Madueke is very much an established England international, whether we think that as a senior or not. 5 English teams in Champions League should help for big game experience too. Yeah, I mean, it can't hurt, can it? And Nwari to Chelsea, good or bad? I mean, the thing is about him is he had a really disappointing under-21 Euros, and arguably he's I'm always going to say the only player at the under-21 campaign that came out, and I wouldn't say stock lowered, but he certainly didn't rise like everybody else's did, and he just didn't make an impact, did he? He just did not make the impact that I don't think Lee Carsley expected, or anyone expected, to be honest with you. I was live streaming some of the games, and obviously we've discussed some of these games on the Sunday Club, and we've all said that, and Nwari didn't really quite do what we expected him to do at this summer. But it's only good if he goes to Chelsea and plays. That's the problem. is he going to play? I don't think he will. I do think against Serbia, the performance is more important than the result, so we can see where we really are in preparation for the World Cup. I sort of agree, but the result's the most important, Charlie, because, like I said, if we win, we're at the World Cup, mate. The result's got to come first, and ultimately that's what matters. Because look, if we beat Serbia playing shit, everyone will be like, yeah, it's a work in progress now. He's got 12 months to get it organised, blah 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 blah, and everyone will be. There'll be no drama, is what I'm saying. People will be probably grumbling a little bit, saying didn't play that great, but we've won anyway. But there'll be no drama. The performance is definitely second for me. And Rory would end up on loan to Strasbourg or Vitesse. Estevio or Neto, which one would you expect to be in first 11? I don't know, really. I don't know enough about you. Genuinely, I like Neto. I do like Neto. I just and Rory, I can't see him. I can't see him playing. I can't see him playing that regular. He needs to go somewhere else for me. I think the loan moves possibly would, but those teams might put him out of the picture a little bit. A lot of small nations deploy a low block, sadly making game sales stale and frustrating. Yeah, I agree, but I don't think Serbia will. I mean, Serbia aren't just going to surely sit 11 men behind the ball. They'll offer something in return. The Andorra game, we'll just, look, all of us, if you go in, we're just going to have to get through it. We're just going to have to get through the motions. It's just going to be one of those nights. We'll get through it. Might take a while for us to get the first goal. 3 or 4, happy days, job done. It's just going to be one of those nights. Charlie, no problem, mate. Have a good week, whatever you're doing in the week, mate. Thank you for joining. See you next week. I'll be dropping a video on the Lionesses, obviously, for the Netherlands game, so everyone can look out for that. Albania and Latvia will be negative. Well, I know, but I don't blame him. They're never going to offer anything coming forward, are they? It's because they're that low. You know, this qualification campaign, those two are exceptionally poor. Albania isn't and Serbia isn't, but yes, you too, mate. Take care. I mean, Elliot. I'm thinking like a Newcastle and Everton. So I mean, maybe even a Spurs. He needs to get. I mean, just everyone avoid Man United for God's sake. Just who's on this list who we've meant. Just I don't want to see any promising England player go anywhere near Man United or City. Just avoid Manchester, lads. Anyone who's weighing it up, just avoid the Manchester clubs because it seems like it's not the place to go, mate, and have your career fulfilled. You go to Man City and you'll be shown a Excel diagram about where to stand when at exactly what moment and by what time. And if you go to Man United, then you're just going to end up in a shit show and a circus. So just avoid the Manchester clubs is my message. I know obviously no England players are going to be watching this, but you never know. You never know. I wouldn't like to see any of them go there moving forward. If England get a draw versus Uzbekistan, Benin and Costa Rica, I'm questioning whether to skip the group games. In what? I think, look, going back to, I mean, let's. I'm looking at the time. We're on 48 minutes. Let's round this evening off with a final. Just let's. Yeah, but we don't know who we're gonna have in the group yet, do we? Oh, draw. Sorry, I thought you meant if we draw against them, as if like we'd already been draw. Sorry, I get what you mean now. You're gonna have to watch the group games, mate. Doesn't matter who you get. Avoid GFC United. Yeah, I can't see him going there. I think we'll end this evening's chat with just the last few words on the Lionesses. But look, I am obviously hoping they do it. I can't see them doing it. I think it's gonna. But is this possibly something that they need? Because I feel like we've just been trudging along over these past couple of years, and it's sort of been on the cards for a while, and nothing seems to change. Maybe it needs this to happen, and I know that sounds absolutely mental, and I'm not wishing England go out of the group stage at all. I'm just saying sometimes things like this happen for a reason, and hopefully have a positive impact leading into next summer's, the following World Cup. But hopefully England can get the stuff together. They did show promising signs in that game against France. But yeah, let's see. I'm just not that optimistic. Guys, what are you thinking about strikers, Jackson, Delap? I mean, surely Delap's probably going to get... It seems like Delap's the one that they're trying to focus on, Darryl, doesn't it? Given the Club World Cup, he seems to be starting a lot of the games. I think we'll scrape a win, get a good win against Wales, and then get knocked out by Germany. Yeah. On that note, as we're coming up to the hour where it's 50-odd minutes, on that note, I am going to leave it there, guys. Good one tonight. I think it's really interesting as the transfer window evolves. I will be dropping a Lionesses preview video tomorrow night for the Netherlands game. Watch that because I'm going to mull it over. I am going to mull it over and have a think, read some of the press, read what Serena said, have a think about how I felt after that last game, and have a watch and see if I'm going to be optimistic or pessimistic. But thank you all so much for watching. Charlie, Crystal, all top contributors tonight. Matt's channel as well, Stephen, Carol, Solomon, everyone who's been on, Foundation, I'll go on and on and on. It's great to have you all joining me. Thank you all so much for watching. Come on, the Lionesses, come on. Let's make it 2 from 2. Surely, prove me wrong again. Like I said, this negativity worked with the under 21s, so I'm hoping it's going to have a positive impact on the Lionesses as well. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a fantastic week. I think it's going to be hot again in the UK, so get your barbecues on. Enjoy the weather, everybody. Maybe get your telly outside for the second game against Netherlands. But I will see you all on my next video. Thank you all so